Hello, everyone. I'm Jean-Claude BeyondMystic, and welcome to this episode of Raw Naked Truth with MARYAM HENEIN. You can find her work, of course, on Twitter at MARYAM HENEIN and also on her website, or actually her new backup YouTube channel. Let me bring that up here so people can see you. Of course, I'm on the wrong page. MARYAM, you and I were chatting so much just before the show. Welcome back to the show, MARYAM.
Thank you for having me. Nice to be with you, JC.
You're welcome. So, of course, this is your YouTube channel. So we're going to ask people to please subscribe and stay in touch with all of your amazing work. And here, of course, is your Twitter account. So sorry about the little glitch there as we started. I was getting a little excited. We've got quite a bit of news to cover with you guys here tonight. It's going to be an interactive show, too. So if you guys have questions or comments, please do populate the chat as we go here. And I wanted to remind you, of course, that I am broadcasting today from my backup channel. If you just found me again after losing me 2 weeks ago, you might know now that YouTube had deleted my primary channel. I'm in the midst now of rebuilding this 12,000 strong community that we had before. So if you can please subscribe to our new channel here so that you can stay in touch with me and all of our beautiful guests. We have a big lineup coming up again this week. Tomorrow night, we have Jason at 4 for a very special crypto talk. On Monday, we have France Vortex Maps with Daniel Shaw and Indigo Angel. That'll be really, really interesting, of course, for the solstice. We've got another Beyond the Vault episode coming up with Chris Marcus. And then Jim Willie is back with another explosive monthly report. And this is next Wednesday. So you don't want to miss that. So, MARYAM, how's your week been?
It's been busy. I would like to share some of the things that I've been working on or have worked on. I finished another pretty long piece on Michigan. So this week we had I did an interview with Matthew DePerno. So he is the one who asked for the forensic audit on the voting machines in Antrim County. This was caught accidentally, this glitch, these 6,000 votes that were on one side being blamed on a human error. And then the audit, which has an affidavit from someone named Ramsland, is stating that the source code was missing, that the audit trail from this year is gone compared to other maybe, I don't know, maybe we can pull up the article.
Right, so I'm looking at your YouTube channel. I don't see that interview there. So where did you post that? I can bring it down here to I guess the
it's an article in Activist Post. So one second, because it would be
while you do that. So you will remember to the audience here last week, MARYAM was hot on this trail, and we were waiting for the judge to decide whether or not he was going to lift the ban order or the gag order that had been placed on this supposed human error here with some of the machines. And so, of course, on Monday afternoon of this week, the judge did lift that ban order. And so now we're getting into the forensic data and whether or not we can use that to see if that had been duplicated in many other instances. I think this is what we need to get into and just keep track of. And this is the point of having this conversation here tonight. There's so much on this front too. I mean, this week has been pretty crazy. You've posted quite a few things in the last 2 days, MARYAM, also where we have news now that some of these poll workers had previously been convicted of fraud, yet they have their hands on the machine and on the buttons, so to speak, again during this election. And to me, that is just mind-blowing. It's like, you know, when you have a pedophile who's convicted pedophile, you typically don't give him a job where he has access to kids afterwards. Just saying.
So someone was like, oh, well, she wasn't convicted. Oh, okay. So if I got accused of 6 felonies having to do with election fraud, I'm going to be brought back to the polls in 2020. So this woman was brought back to the polls, and she's mentioned yesterday. I was reading an article. I'm like, wait a second, isn't that the woman who got charged with election fraud in 2018? And now she's being gatekeeper and passing arguably spoiled ballots. I don't think that they would bring me back to the polls. So
Right.
I got court documents today. So I saw that in June they tried to quash her 6 felonies, and arguably there wasn't enough fraud. So the thing is this, what the left is saying, like someone that again used to follow my movie, used to follow me because of my movie, that are on the left, right? Because the film is on the bees, so it's
Right.
climate, environment.
Right.
So they said, well, all these cases are dismissed. So if I go for an audition and they don't hire me, does that mean I'm shit? No. Does it mean that this doesn't have any merit? Do we look at who these judges are? Just like with the Punch Google lawsuit, it's an Obama hired judge. She doesn't even know how YouTube works. Does it mean that there's no merit? Absolutely not. So what is this failed way of thinking that there must be the courts dropped all of his suits? I'm sorry, over and over again I am seeing fraud, and at this point chicanery, we could say chicanery.
Right. Just to make sure here for the Google
Yeah.
algorithms, the mainstream narrative has reported over and over and over that there is absolutely no instance of voter fraud in this election. And of course, the narrative also supports the fact that this was the most secure election in our history. So that is the mainstream narrative. That being said,
Benson said the exact same things, that it wasn't her, whatever she did. And they actually said because she had such a stellar reputation, she wanted to fix the 193 ballots that she made a mistake on.
Right.
So yeah, that's nothing to see here with the forensic report.
Yeah, let's get into that. I have your activist post here. We'll get into that in a second here. So on Monday, and as you know, I've been busy this week. I haven't followed as much the news because I'm trying to rebuild here our community in my library. But I did see this week that the judge had lifted the ban or the gang order on, I think it was Monday.
He filed an emergency injunction to release but what I found out, because if you saw the hearing, this is the hearing I'm talking about, the Michigan hearing going over the report with John Paulos, who's the CEO of Dominion. And so as I was covering the hearing, what came to mind is, one, he's arguably not saying the truth. Two, the Senate legislators didn't have the know-how, the tech savvy to ask questions and to challenge John Paulos. Right. So do they know the difference between an audit log and a source code, et cetera, et cetera? So I was interviewing someone who I've interviewed in private in previous pieces, that is part of a nonprofit bipartisan group for integrity. And she told me to speak to Patrick Colbeck, who used to be a senator for 2 terms. And I asked him this, and he actually took he made the effort to, he was working the polls, by the way, at the TCF Center. But he went and he asked, hey, if you were to ask Dominion and you were to ask any questions regarding this audit report, what would you ask? He collected the questions and he did give them to the senator that was running the hearing. And while some questions were asked, he wasn't able to keep up with the tech savviness. So therefore, this man, John Paulos, who did say in 2009 under oath that no election software or hardware is 100% secure. So I also found out by interviewing Patrick Colbeck that parts of the report had been redacted. So we do not have, and they said it would endanger the privacy of Dominion. So we don't have all the passages. And he brought to my attention that John Paulos says that there's no fractionalized voting. The unredacted portions of the report would show that that is also not correct. So I invite people I don't know if you want to bring it up, but it's very detail oriented. And this, if you go for the first go a little bit down.
Let me just put the URL in the chat for the audience here if they want to follow.
So I start the piece with the Transition Integrity Project. Again, I put a link there. I really suggest that you read it. When you say, quote, right there, we anticipate lawsuits, divergent narratives. Go a little bit down. No, sorry, the other way. I'm reading from narratives, attempts to stop the counting of ballots, and protests drawing people from both sides. How did they know this? Mm-hmm. This was written in June. So just like this is like the event 201 of the elections. And we were talking, you and I, yesterday about this cyber pandemic also having an event 201 tabletop exercise. So how do they know this? Do they tell us up front what's going to happen, but they don't exactly know because they don't know all the players that arguably have free will? How will they interact? And Michigan is mentioned there as important, and per the Constitution, President Trump still has a chance.
Yeah, that's the main thing I think I've been focused on in the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks, especially as the censorship is unfolding here on YouTube, and any talk of this particular topic a different outcome to the electoral process here that is not in line with mainstream narrative is going to be deleted by Facebook and by Twitter and by YouTube. I've been focused on the fact just myself that, hey, there is a constitutional process here to follow, and we are by far not done. And there's many aspects to that yet. And of course, this is not related in the mainstream news as of yet. So people who I talk to are like, no, it's already done, JC, this is finished. I'm like, maybe not. We still have some time here. And I think I'd like to urge calm. My message here today is to be calm, because my worry is that this is boiling and boiling and boiling, and at some point it's gonna blow the top, and this is where we're going to see these peaceful protests, as the mainstream narratives want to call it, popping up around the country. And I don't want that. I don't want people to be stuck in that. Now, today, out of the blue, MARYAM, and people will say, oh no, it's already done, JC, don't worry, you guys are crazy. I'm like, oh, okay. What about this? Pentagon abruptly halts Biden transition briefings, leaving officials stunned. So this is the official process by which an incoming president is briefed so that during this period of transition of power, he can learn and master the files so that when he takes office in January, the president is ready to go. Now, somebody somewhere for some reason has decided to stop this process here today.
Does it have to do with Ratcliffe's report that was supposed to have been turned in today per the EO, the executive order, and is delayed, which I don't know. It says no more than 45 days, so I don't know how that works. But he also said, Ratcliffe, that there has been foreign interference.
Right. And that ties in with the security breaches that were reported earlier this week, the Pentagon. Maybe we can get into that now. Have you followed any of those stories, and where would you like to point the audience?
Well, many of us have been wondering if they're going to use the EO of 2018. And other than that, following the fact that, Radcliffe announced it was going to be delayed, and that he came on record to say there's interference, I would think stalling the transition. I haven't seen anything about stalling the transition. I was busy on my story, so I haven't seen that. If you want to pull something up.
Doesn't jive with me, and I could be wrong. I'm not a constitutional scholar as per the U.S. Constitution, of course, I'm Canadian, but whether or not there's a delay in this report, I don't see why you would delay the briefing.
Okay.
The only reason I see, and this is my opinion, you would delay the briefing if at some point there was enough evidence to suggest that maybe the person you were briefed is a security leak. That would trigger maybe a halt. And of course, we saw earlier last week the DOJ finally admitting that they had the laptop and that there were 3 or 4 concurrent investigations going on to some of these allegations of bribes or schemes, donation schemes here to have access to the big man. And you guys know who that is. So that could be also a reason why this has been stalled. Again, I don't know, but it's just funny that we're seeing these crumbles and these bits and pieces here in the mainstream news telling us here that there's something, en français on dit il y a anguille sur roche. There's something below the surface here, and I think we're about to hit a wall. That's my impression. And there's been a few psychics who are saying the same thing. Cliff High with his predictive linguistic also. I could bring up some of his tweets maybe for the audience here who haven't seen that. But we're expecting some big narrative cracks in the next couple of days and weeks here.
People understand that per the Constitution, if the states, there's 7 that are bringing their own slate of electors. So, and by the way, Matthew DePerno attended a audit, a hand audit on Monday, or sorry, on the 17th, and I clipped a couple of some videos of the shenanigans, basically finding garbage can full of ballots that they determined were spoiled. So sorry, I want to be a little bit more specific to that.
Okay.
I'm going to share a story that
in the meantime, I thought this article earlier today too from Zero Head was interesting about the screaming match at the Supreme Court here. I found that interesting because our friends at Remote Viewing, Dick Algary and team, had remote viewed something very similar to that. Sorry if I'm making you busy here. A couple of months ago. And of course, now it's making the news here today. So this is the tweet by the Crypto Viewing team. Dick Algary remote viewed the Supreme Court in November as world events. And it just came out confirming details published in this session. In this session, he was talking about a screaming match here. And he thought he was looking at the Supreme Court. So again, just pieces of evidence that are coming up day in and day out that's telling people that things are not as they seem. And I think we're very close to that wall of this narrative starting to crumble. And on that note, Cliff was warning people also that we're probably going to see a big, massive wave of censorship. So accounts on YouTube and other places being deleted here in very, very short order. So hold on to your socks, folks. I think this is going to be an interesting couple of days and weeks ahead of us. And on that note, I'll share with you while you look for your article, Maryam. Folks, if you want to stay in touch with me here in case this channel also gets deleted, the best way I think for you to reach me would be on beyondmystic.net. And there I have this post here on censorship and new backup links. And you can find the details of my appeal with YouTube, but you can also find my new links of where I'm building basically backup communities here in case this goes down here once more time on YouTube. So please bookmark that page now so that if this does go down, you'll already have it. And it's more likely than not that we're going to see more of these fabulous YouTubers here who are trying to get to the truth completely get wiped off the surface here of some of these platforms. So Maryam, do you have the link here for us?
I'm still looking at it for it.
Okay.
Sorry. But next week with Twitter, there's going to be, you're not allowed to say anything about
Yeah, Twitter just announced earlier this week that they were going to delete heavily any mention or comments of ill effects of having visited with Aunt Maxine. So they're very, very strict about removing that content. And I thought that was kind of hilarious given what transpired again here today. And let me bring up this tweet here for the audience. Let me find it here. I thought this was just not serendipitous, but ironic how this nurse here is talking about how proud she is of her and her team having a visit here, an early visit, a very early visit with Aunt Maxine. And of course, as she's answering questions here, and it's not funny because she fell to the ground, but yeah, she suffered a severe a severe reaction here, and you can see her here starting to tumble, and she's eventually going to hit the ground here. And this just happened earlier this week, also in Alaska, with frontline health workers. And of course, this is what Twitter is purportedly saying that they're going to delete. So you, the audience, are not allowed to see these things as you make your decision whether or not to invite Aunt Maxine over to your house for a party. So fascinating stuff.
Yeah, it is fascinating.
While Maryam is looking for her file, I've got something
with you.
You have it? Okay, wait a second.
I shared a little thing I did on Dominion with the lawyer. Okay. And then here is the, well, let's pull up this actual article. Yeah, we can show that. There's sound.
So bring sound to this. Okay, hold on a second here. Okay, that's the maximum. Okay, so Maryam, I'm going to play this.
The adjudication logs for 2020, system files for 2020 were all missing from the computer. And that shouldn't be. They should all be there. They were there for prior years, but our analysis shows that those files were deleted on November 4th, the day after the election. So there's no way to tell now. We're going to still keep digging. Maybe we can find that stuff buried. Maybe we can recover some of those deleted files, but it appears that somebody removed those files on November 4th. Jocelyn Benson, the Secretary of State of Michigan, spent $0 on education for these county workers for elections in the last few years. She had funds available to her through the CARES Act, and she didn't spend any money. She didn't want to train them because I believe she knew how the software functions. The software intentionally creates errors, and then if there's errors, you can blame people. They would blame the county workers, and that's their explanation. I believe, based on the results I've seen in our analysis, Donald Trump won Michigan by probably 450,000 votes.
Wow.
So they need a system like this in place so that they can shift those votes, because they can't win in a fair election. So they need a system like the Dominion voting system that will generate errors, shift those ballots to adjudication, and have someone somewhere who we don't know where, who they are, be able to do mass adjudication and flip votes. That's how they do it.
That's fascinating. Okay, let me retweet that because I missed that when you tweeted it earlier. So
thank you. That's just you know, a very short segment. You can go and look at the full interview, which was fascinating, with this man, with this attorney.
And where is your full interview? BitChute here?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, so folks, I've just tweeted Maryam's tweet here, and I've put it in the chat. So you guys, if you have a Twitter account, please do go and retweet that. And let me bring up also the BitChute link.
And this is Matthew DePerno, who filed the lawsuit for the audit on behalf of Bill Bailey, who is a voter. This is not a Trump suit, but the results, and there's several incongruencies, let's just say, with what John Paulos said.
And Mariam, I see you put this on BitChute here. You decided strategically not to upload this to your YouTube channel, of course. That's
Yes.
the reason it's
Yes.
there.
There's also that other interview is with Christina Caramo, also from Michigan, that was a witness that witnessed at least one spoiled ballot being passed as a Joey ballot.
This one here?
Yes.
Okay. So there you go. You can find Maryam Henein on a BitChute here, and you can see her moniker up here. Actually, let me just bring down her the URL to her channel as well.
Thank you. Yeah, as you saw personally, it's not very user friendly. BitChute, they haven't really improved any of their functions. It takes a really long time to upload, and as we were saying earlier this week, that you end up being fragmented all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. While we're at it, I'm going to also share with you, the audience here. This is new, and so this is my BitChute channel. Right now I have just the one video, and it could very well be the video that got my previous channel deleted. So if you guys want to see that, right now this is the only place you can see it. So let me bring that link into the chat box for you guys as well. Crazy times, Mariam, and it's just, it feels like the Tower of Babel, being destroyed again, where we're basically scattering all of these voices so that we can't talk to each other and come together as a human race. And it's funny, Penny Kelly was talking about that very concept today, that we need to come together. And all of these attempts right now, whether that's social distancing, all the fear factor, you can't see grandma at Christmas, you can't see grandma at the old age home or the nursing home. It's just many different tactics to get us separated. And so too here now on these communities where we're not allowed to talk with each other, and we're not allowed to share our thoughts anymore. Otherwise we get violations or strikes for hate speech. So since when is trying to get to the truth hate speech, or questioning the narrative hate speech? I don't know, but that's the situation we find ourselves in.
Yeah, and if we can't communicate with each other and compare notes, and it's arguably going to get worse, really, is this America? Is this North America? Is this... And then you get gaslit. Okay, so another thing I wanted to bring up, this is a theme of the week, that it's a buzzword we're hearing, that you're putting democracy into question. It's undemocratic. No, mofos, it's the exact opposite. Democracy beckons for robust debate so that we can prevent things from escalating. So anyone that's saying, such as a Benson, Jocelyn Benson, that we're being undemocratic and trying to shut us up, because all week in the hearings you have certain people saying this is like, let's get on with it, and then you have the Mitch McConnells who are or the Mitt Romneys who are like, it's over now.
Yeah.
But it's democratic to ask questions. It's not democratic to shame and for having questions. And the thing is, if you're not paying attention, and how can you, because there's so much information, disinformation. If you're not paying close attention, you're not connecting the dots, how are you going to know? Because the mainstream outlets are saying the opposite, and the people who are trying to share information are getting silenced. How is that not a red flag, folks?
Yeah. And a couple of years ago, a lot of us were out here, or at least in our communities, telling people, hey, there's a problem here with this cancel culture. There's a problem here with this culture of not asking questions. And I remember under the Obama administration, I was questioning Obamacare, specifically the part where he kept repeating on the news, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. Well, guess what? That was not true. And when I questioned that, people were telling me, "You're a racist. You're just a racist." I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with the guy. I'm reading the policy here. It's telling you that what he's saying is not true. Wake up. And so this keeps creeping and creeping. And as we let it go, we get to a point now where we can't even question reality. We can't even question videos of people taking suitcases and running the paper within the suitcases 3 times in the machine. And we're told by mainstream media, just like in Star Wars, these are not the droids you're looking for. You didn't actually see this video. This was debunked. She's not actually running it 3 times. You got that wrong. I'm like, really? Like, it's so surreal to me, Maryam.
Yeah, you brought up also that touches upon Ruby Freeman, that she supposedly now is in witness protection, is a rumor. That she's flipped is another rumor. I didn't see where we're at now. Cynthia Robinson lost her duties, was stripped of her duties for acting like a juvenile and threatening people,
Right.
and which is good in my opinion.
Well, going back to Ruby,
Yeah.
that night that video came out, you and I were talking about it. A few other people were talking about it. And it's like there was like 24 hours of this video to watch, right? It was a big file. And within minutes, the mainstream media, oh, no, that file's debunked. I'm like, have you even had time to watch it? It's 24 hours long. What the hell are you guys talking about? It's debunked. And I'm like, did you ask questions to those witnesses? Have they been brought in? Has that little log from those machines been verified? Like, it's a few minutes old, the story, yet you're telling us it's been debunked. I mean, how crazy can you be? But again, like you said, people don't have time. They rely on the news. People who are not here, of course, it's not our audience. But they're like, oh no, the news told me it's debunked, JC. That's a crazy story.
Yeah, how are you going to keep tabs? And then they say, well, it's not enough to change the results. How much? If you say if you're not going to look, if a judge is just going to dismiss the case and then you're like, it had no merit, have you looked at the court file? If it got dismissed and you refuse to even consider, it's not like the energy behind it is not like, okay, yeah, let's take a look. It's shaming, it's aggro, it's hostile, so
how dare you ask for the truth, Maryam? How dare you?
And
going back to this guy, this example here, and it's mind-boggling. That first human error, it was like 9,000 to 5,000 for Biden. So 9,000 for Biden, 5,000 for Trump. And then after this human error was discovered, it was actually completely flipped. It was 9,000 for Trump, and
Are you talking specific? 6,000 is in the switch in Antrim. Yeah.
Right. My point is, it's a complete switch. The numbers are a little bit different here in my head. I don't have the exact.
It's like nothing to see here.
Right. But my point was, it's not just 5% or 12% or 2% off. No. It was a complete reversal of the numbers. Almost.
It's not just one state. Sorry. And it's not just one state.
That's it. That's the whole point of this. And again, we're being told and gaslit by mainstream media, oh no, this never happens. Well, here's an example. Oh no, that's just human error. But the Democrats went into court there to ask the judge to make sure this is sealed so nobody can look at it. Come on. If you wanted a fair election process, wouldn't you look at it? If I was Joe Biden, I'd say, bring it on. Bring me your proof. Let's talk about it. I won this fair and square. And if you prove me wrong, prove me wrong. He hasn't said that. No, instead they shame you. You're not allowed to ask. You're undemocratic. You're reckless. You're inciting violence. You're doing all these things because you're just asking questions. It's very frustrating. I had a family party last Saturday, small gathering, and I came to say something, and Sarah kind of knocked me underneath the table. Like, JC, don't mention that. Just don't mention that. And I kind of flipped. I'm like, how much more of this? Don't say this, don't say. And of course, this was 2-3 days after my channel was deleted. So I was pretty sensitive to don't say this, don't say that. I'm like, this is the problem. Everybody's so like, oh, don't say this, don't ask questions, don't say this, like, don't offend anybody. What? Since when does it offend anybody to say the truth or to ask to get details to get to the truth? And I'm like, no, this is not the time to don't ask. This is what they want. This is the time to hammer the point until you get an answer and not be afraid of getting answers. So I encourage people, and this is why I have a backup channel. This is why I'm right up here doing the same thing, fighting for the truth here, because if we don't do it, who will? Right. We only need a small portion of the population to do what we're doing now. It doesn't take 50% plus one. It's not true. You're talking about maybe 2% of the population, a very convinced, irate, a determined percentage of the population, usually around 2%, we can flip the switch. We are flipping the switch. That's why they're deleting us. That's why they don't want you to post on YouTube, Maryam, and you have to go to BitChute. So let me read this quote from Cliff High, and it puts some of this stuff in context for the audience here.
And then I shared another clip to share. Okay. Let's look at
this. Is December 16th from Cliff High's backup account on Twitter. He's no longer there. He's moved to Parler. And folks, I can bring that link up as well if you want to follow Cliff High. He's at Cliff High at parler.com right now. Essentially, he was saying on December 16th, I'll read as follows. Giant temporal marker now unfolding. It will take at least 14 days to just be completely visible to the populace. There will be fracturing of narrative globally. So extend your ki, your chi, your energy now, your field, like your shields, right? Control your emotions now and prepare for coming mental shocks. This is your warning. I feel the same thing. Sarah feels the same thing. All the psychics I've had on this week too, they're all feeling this huge wave of something that's just in front of us. So hold on to your socks. Okay, so Maryam, what is the other link you just shared? Let me just bring that up for the audience.
There's two. One is the article that I mentioned, which is the follow-up. I didn't write it, but I wanted to share with
the Patriot Unite.
But let's look at this Twitter link. The last one. Pull that up.
The Twitter first. Okay, give me a second here.
So this is from Kill Chain. This is a film that came out on HBO in March. Again, this is March. And what is it about?
Now, is this something you can narrate so that we don't get a strike for playing HBO content?
Sure. Okay, basically, Kill Chain talks about the security of the elections. And this clip, you could put it maybe in the comment if people want to look at it on their own, is a section that acknowledges the vulnerabilities in Dominion. Just straight up, again, what are you doing making a film on the elections in March? Talking about how these software, hardware machines are compromised. Okay, so then if we bring up the article, I wanted to read it too.
Okay, let me bring that up. Give me a second here. Copy link. I'll keep that one open there, and I'll also copy back this down to the main chat for the audience. If they want to
so this is now this is after the fact, after Monday, and I don't know if should I read a little bit of it or.
Yeah, go ahead. You let me know what you want to do here.
Scroll down a little. Okay, so constitutional attorney Matthew DePierno, who's the man you saw, I interviewed 2 weeks ago, Michigan 13th Circuit Court, Judge Kevin Eisenheimer agreed to allow DePierno's client, William Bailey, and a highly skilled team of IT experts to perform a forensic examination on 16 of the Dominion machines in Antrim. On Monday, he agreed to allow the results as we've talked about. Okay, you can go down. So this is, I'll talk a little bit. Basically, there was a 68% error rate. The FEC acknowledges a 0.000008 allowable election error. This was 68.5. John Polos, during the hearing, discounted that. Based on the Allied Security Operations Report, DePierno states, we conclude the Dominion voting system should not be used in Michigan. Okay, so let's go down. I want to get to now after so he presents the findings, and then an order. Benson is like, let's order a risk limited audit. And I talked about how there are different types of audits, like just garden varieties, just to check on the system. So she orders one, and she invites the attorney to sit in on this risk limiting audit in Antrim. And it took place yesterday. 6 officials from the SOS's office was there. So you can go down. I want to get to people can see. Maybe I could talk about the videos. If you can scroll down, JC.
This here?
Oops. I think that's a little too much. Go up a little bit. Go up. Okay. Go up.
I was right there earlier.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Okay, yes. Okay, so according to verified voting, the risk limiting audit process can be conducted on any set of paper ballots that has a record of the number of ballots cast, how they are stored, and how to retrieve any particular ballot. For an RLA to meaningfully support confidence in the reported election outcome, the standard is higher and requires the following. Risk limiting audit is RLA. Paper ballots preferably marked by hand. It's supplemented with a ballot marking device for those who need to use one, a deliberate and intentional step for a voter to check the paper ballot for accuracy before casting the ballot. So now adjudication, I don't know if everyone understands what adjudication is, but let's say there's an iffy ballot, then it's sent for adjudication. There's a digital adjudication tool, or John Polo said that they all manually adjudicated. The report said otherwise. So I hope that's clear. So rigorous ballot counting and a properly maintained chain of custody of the ballots. If photographic evidence proves seals on the Dominion voting machines were broken on November 7th, how can a properly maintained chain of custody of ballots be assured? The answer is it can't. Before her so-called audit was completed, Benson explained the purpose of the risk-limiting audit to the media while ensuring the integrity, of course. While we know the machine tabulators, this is all, well, let's all show in game, we're doing the right thing. While we know the machine tabulators function properly in Antrim, we are conducting this audit to assure the public of what countless officials from both parties at the federal, state, and local officials have confirmed, that this was the most secure election in our nation's history, and the certified results are an accurate reflection of the will of the voters. Adding, it's time for Michigan and the nation to once and for all dismiss the meritless disinfo campaign that seeks to undermine the integrity of our election and move forward in support of our collective democracy. Do you see the languaging that is used?
Yeah, so just if you're going to be a spin doctor here, we have already confirmed. So, hey, it's not just confirmed, it's already confirmed that this was the most secure election in our nation's history. And the certified results, again, all this, the cart before the horse, don't ask any questions. Everybody's already certified this. It's already been confirmed, reconfirmed, and double confirmed, Maryam. There's no shenanigans whatsoever here. These are not what you're looking for.
I don't know if you caught any of Krebs's, and I'm not done listening to it. These are hours and hours, and I choose to watch them, not even even if I trust certain outlets. I want to hear. I want to pick up things. So Chris Krebs, so he gets fired. He ends up on the Colbert Show. I haven't seen his performance. And then he also gets to meet Arnold Schwarzenegger. During the hearing, he says again that this is the most secure election, and they're crapping on the president with, kind of like very subtly. But this guy, it's like, oh, you get fired from your job and you end up like on the Colbert Show. That's a good thing. I'm sure that would happen to me too. I get fired and I get on a TV show.
Oh yeah. My YouTube channel was just deleted. I just got this phone call from the Late Show. They want to invite me on. I was just like, in case you guys think we were lying, I wanted to share this one here too. But this was what we were discussing earlier. Of course, this is Twitter announcing here that they will remove harmful misleading or false information on Aunt Maxine, because all of those claims, of course, as they say here, are widely debunked. And I tweeted, yeah, but what if the Aunt Maxine herself is the harmful part of the story? And of course, we keep seeing that over and over every day. Aunt Maxine is getting under people's skins and having severe reactions, or people are having severe reactions to that. So, of course, MARYAM and I are just trying to get to the truth here, and we're being comical about it, but you understand what we're saying.
Yeah. And so sorry. So the end of that article, he attends the audit, and there's footage if someone wants to see of what he documented, and pretty much pokes fun at this self-limiting audit and report on the findings, so people can make decision for themselves.
Right. So you guys can follow patriotsunitepost.com. The link is already in the chat here, guys, if you want to go check out those videos. Again, fascinating stuff. Thank you, MARYAM, for keeping track of all of this. There's just so much. And of course, you're not paid. You're doing this work. Yet the people who take money from our taxpayers' dollars, CNN, they can announce investigative reporting and look at this. No. It's been debunked. Shut up. Just listen to mainstream and accept what we just told you. We are the authority. That's what we're being told in so many words.
Yeah, it's only getting. I mean, we got a text message here in the Bay Area saying to basically not leave the house. It's like, it's prison. It's a prison sentence. And that on the heels of Songbird is out, by the way. You could rent it on YouTube. So that's the Michael Bay movie. Zach and I watched it. It was actually way better than what I thought, maybe because it's so close to home, but it takes place in 2023. Guess what? The Rona hasn't left. And now you leave your house and you get shot. And I recommend people watch it.
Yeah. Wow. I think, folks, that's it for the first part of our show here. We are going to get into what you see on the screen here, the potential of a Russian invasion. There's a lot of rumblings and rumors going around, and MARYAM and I are going to do our very best, level best, to try to go through that information with you guys here on the Patreon segment of the show. So if you guys want to follow us for that episode, you can do so at patreon.com/BeyondMystic. And there, of course, you're looking for the Insider Access Pass, where I put all of these videos that are no longer permissible in a lot of platforms. So please do join us there. And of course, you can also support MARYAM, and that same video will also be on MARYAM's Patreon account. And that is patreon.com/MARYAM HENEIN. MARYAM, before we go tonight, any last words for the audience here on YouTube?
Thank you. I'm always grateful for anyone who's showing support, and I'm curious. Yeah, anyone that wants to comment or exchange information, I'm very accessible. And maybe in the other part, we can show that lovely little video that I shared of that girl in LA. She's in Los Angeles, and what she does with her face diaper.
Oh, yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, we'll get into that too, folks. Okay, and also I wanted to ask you guys, please do go subscribe to MARYAM's backup channel. She finds herself in the same position as I am here today, trying to rebuild her community. And so I've just put the link in the description, in the chat box, so you guys can go and please subscribe to her account. And while I'm at it, please also subscribe to mine. This is my backup YouTube channel. I'm about 1/10 of the way to my original 12,000 subscribers. So, you know, in Roman times, they said, oh, you decimated the army. That meant you would reduce by 10%, right?
Yes,
I've been reduced to 10%.
You've been decimated. You've been decimated. I'm nowhere. I have less followers than you. I don't do shows every day, but I'm also rebuilding. And yeah, if any of you read my articles on Activist Post, I do not get paid. So please, yeah, I really appreciate any support. You used to get paid $1 a word when I was in the mainstream. So I just wrote a 2,000-page word piece. That's $2,000 that I'm arguably making less than a fucking makeup artist. A makeup artist gets more money than a brilliant journalist. What the hell?
Yeah. Incredible. And guys, if you want to have access to this information as things go by here, you need to support the people who are doing the work, because otherwise you're just going to get to a situation where all you have is mainstream narrative and you won't be able to find anybody else. One last notice here too, if you want to see that video, that last video from the day before my channel was taken down, you can find it here on BitChute. I'm at BeyondMystic on BitChute, and you can also find MARYAM there and some of her work that of course is no longer permissible on YouTube. Wait, where am I? MARYAM, I just had you. There you go. This is MARYAM BitChute here. So let me show you guys that here. So you can find her there at MARYAM HENEIN, aka B Lady. Alors, merci beaucoup, MARYAM. T'es très gentille.
Merci.
Très intelligente.
Thank you, everyone.
Content de t'avoir avec nous autres. I'm always happy to have you here and to share all of your research here with the audience. And this is, this is what we got to do. Day in, day out, stick together, try to get to the truth, not get, swayed by this gaslighting. This right now is probably priority number one. So thank you so much, everyone here, for joining us and encouraging us to continue this work. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you soon. Au revoir.
Au revoir.